Hi, good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Priyanka.
Good evening.
Good evening, Priyanka. You're live.
Hi. Dr. Lee, video.
I know I'm in. Hello.
Yes, doctor, we can see you.
We can hear you, doctor.
Welcome, Dr. Jose.
Welcome, doctor. Doctor, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you?
Yes.
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 I'm sorry I had to log in from the theater side room because my work got a little late.
No problem, sir. Thank you for your time.
So how are things there in your part of the world?
Yeah, it is much better, I would say. I mean, the government is taking massive drives to encourage people to take vaccination. Almost, I think, more than 85% of the population is already vaccinated. And we have Dr. Humed from Burjeel Hospital, BPS Healthcare, which is one of the most biggest name in the healthcare here in UAE. And our chapter has tied up with Burjeel Hospital to get our members vaccinated there. So thank you for that. And a lot of members from the chapter also have got themselves and their families vaccinated already. In terms of the regulatory, there are a lot of regulations to be followed. I mean, still, if in the restaurants, not more than 4 people can sit on one table, there has to be certain gap. You need to have your face mask most of the time. So there are many regulations and people do follow here. So that is the big advantage. I mean, the penalty and the fines are so high, so steep, that people just want to do it. They want to abide with it. So that way we feel that we are in the safe hand and we are doing well, actually.
Are we on live or it's not yet?
No, we are live. We're
Yeah,
just waiting for members to join and then we'll start. Shall we start now, Safiq? What do you think?
Yeah, we can start now.
Okay.
Dr. Jose be disconnected? Just a minute.
Let's start.
Yeah, okay. Good evening, viewers. I hope that everyone is keeping safe and doing well. It is indeed a moment of great pride for all of us living in Abu Dhabi, as Abu Dhabi has been ranked first amongst the leading cities in the world for responding positively and proactively to the COVID situation and safeguarding its residents. Please continue to get vaccinated to protect yourself and your loved ones. Please use the facility that we have tied up with Burjeel Hospital, our leading sponsor, for the same. Today, we have got 2 special guests, Mahavir Singhvi ji, who is the interface between the CF fraternity and the government of India worldwide. Thank you, sir, for taking out time for us and for the chapter. Our other guest speaker is Dr. Humed Al-Shamsi, a very young oncologist. We are very proud to have you, doctor, here. Thank you for your time. We have received some guidelines from the authorities on conducting physical events, which we are still evaluating. As soon as we have a clarity and once we are okay with all the protocols and regulatory advisories, we will try to test it by doing a physical event soon, which of course will be with a lot of restrictions and in terms of numbers and protocols. ICAI under the new leadership is taking incredible initiatives through various committees. The committee of members is arranging a group discounts on various things. Center of Excellence Hyderabad keeps organizing extremely purposeful events. Research committee is inviting application on doctoral scholarship. I request every member to take full advantage of these initiatives. Today is World Health Day, and we have a privilege to have Padma Shri Dr. Jose Chaco as our speaker. Dr. Jose is a chairman of Healthcare Foundation, where heart surgeries for the underprivileged is done almost free of cost. We strongly support this foundation and urge all our members to contribute generously for this cause. Details will be shared in the WhatsApp group very soon. We are thankful to Finance House for providing us a great speaker from our own fraternity, C.A. T.K. Raman. We welcome Dr. C.A. Raman. The chapter is trying to engage with all its stakeholders, members, sponsors, and well-wishers by doing webinars on professional and social front. The managing committee has planned a workshop on making a bot itself. There will be a 2.5-3 hours workshop where we will start and end up by making a bot ourselves. This will be a kind of a big career guidance for someone who's looking for a change from a regular auditing and finance profession. These days, data and bots are becoming really important, and I would encourage all the members to participate, to know what it is and how we can think of having an alternate career on this. We also plan to have a session on career guidance. A social event is also being planned by the social committee. We request all the members to pay their membership fee and continue their patronage. I welcome you all to the virtual CPE meeting. Thank you, and over to you, Priyanka.
Thank you, Neeraj. Good evening, everyone, and a special good evening to our guests for today's event and our fellow members. It is with great privilege that I am going to introduce our chief guest for today's event, Mr. Mahavir Singhvi. I would rather start naming him as CA Mahavir Singhvi, as he's a fellow member, but on top of it, when I looked at his profile, I was like, I think we must get inspired and also kind of approach things beyond just the CA degree. So it gives me a great honor and privilege to welcome Mr. Mahavir Singhvi ji and just introduce him formally to our members today. CA Mahavir Singhvi was appointed to the Indian Foreign Services in the year 1999. Since then, he has served in several important assignments in the Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India, including as Joint Secretary, Counterterrorism, Joint Secretary, Central Europe, Director, SAARC, BIMSTEC and Border Connectivity, Director, East and Southern Africa, Latin America and Caribbean, Multilateral Economic Relations, and as Deputy Secretary, Technical Cooperation. He has also represented India on several international forums during his various assignments in the diplomatic service. He is a regular speaker on diverse subjects at various national and international conferences, seminars, and summits. Mr. Singhvi has been educated and trained at some of the world's best institutions, including the University of Oxford, UK, IIM, Ahmedabad, LBSNAA, Missouri, the ICI, and the University of Delhi, Rajasthan, and Jodhpur. His qualifications include LLB, ACA, ACS, ICWA, MBA, MBF, and Masters from Oxford and BCom Honours. So Mr. Singhvi has been bestowed with several laurels and accolades, including the ICAI's Business Leader in Government Department Award, prestigious British Chevening Fellowship to pursue Foreign Services program at the University of Oxford, where he has secured an overall distinction and achievement which is described as rare and laudable by the university in a letter to Government of India. He's also been honored twice by the Governor of Rajasthan for his academic excellence. Please join me in welcoming CA Mahavir Singhvi for his introductory remarks. Over to you, Mr. Mahavir ji.
Thank you. Thank you for the lovely introduction. It is indeed quite humbling. And in any case, being with chartered accountants, I always feel that perhaps chartered accountants know much more than we do. In fact, I'm also a chartered accountant, but now I've changed track and I'm into diplomacy and international relations. But anyway, chartered accountants are at my always in my heart, and I'm well associated with the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India in various capacities. I'm a member of the International Affairs Committee. I'm a member of the Committee on Public Services and Entrepreneurship. So I have a close connections with the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India even now. So and that's quite wonderful. I always cherish all the interactions which I have with chartered accountants all over the world, I think they're the best professionals, perhaps across the world. The kind of intellect which chartered accountants have and the kind of rigorous training they go through while achieving the qualification is unparalleled. And that perhaps, set them apart from the rest of the professionals in the same stream. So I think that's quite a wonderful thing for me to be here today. And thank you for inviting me, especially thanks to Neeraj for taking this initiative and contacting me. I was a bit late in responding, but nonetheless, I'm very happy today to join you and all the colleagues at the Abu Dhabi chapter. This is an excellent opportunity for me to interact with all of you. And I hope that this interaction will continue in the future. I know today is the World Health Day, and on this occasion, let me wish all the members in Abu Dhabi or members of the Abu Dhabi chapter of Chartered Accountants of India and their family members a very good health, and perhaps we can also think and pray that this pandemic goes away as early as possible and all the members and their family members remain safe from this crisis, which has perhaps rattled the world, never before, in a sense. So the occasion is very apt to have very good speakers, both in terms of the effect this pandemic is going to have on the health and also on the business. So I think you have very well combined together the two issues, and I think the members would get immensely benefited by the words of wisdom from these worthy speakers, Dr. Jodh Chacko and T.K. Raman. We also have with us Dr. Humaid Al-Samsi, and I convey my greetings to him for taking time out and joining this. I think this is perhaps an honor not only for the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, but also for all of us here to interact with you and to listen to you. So my greetings and best wishes to him as well. As we have talked about the pandemic, India has been also very badly affected. The coronavirus pandemic has in fact transformed the world in a way that perhaps it will take several years to actually realize the kind of impact it's going to have. And of course, it will take another several years to actually remedy those impacts. It had some positive impacts also, like one of the impact I think which is a very positive side is now we are able to interact virtually, which we never used to do earlier. I mean, we used to do earlier, but not in the kind of interaction which we have nowadays. So I think that is a positive aspect, but at the same time, the negative aspects are much worse than what we can imagine. I think it will take a lot of time for the world and for the India to recover from it. We are on the path of recovery. The government is doing all its, trying to put in all the measures which can bring back our economy on track. And therefore, I think you all know that kind of program which is called Atmanirbhar Bharat was launched in India. That is, I think, to secure not only our own, economy, but also to provide a kind of, or to provide a kind of supply chain industries to all over the world. It's not inward looking. The concept is actually outward looking, and it doesn't mean that we are going to shut our boundaries from rest of the world, but the government has taken this initiative to attract, the people from abroad to come over and set up industries here and also manufacture here, and the government will provide all the facilities in that context and in that regard. So I think that is something which we all, whenever we talk to our members abroad, especially the chartered accountants abroad, and I tell them that this is the time where actually you can provide you can return your goodwill or the whatever qualification you have earned and whatever that you have to your motherlands. I think perhaps that this is the time, and you can not only help in bringing investment, you can also help in bringing mergers, acquisitions, investment, technology, and various other things. I think you can be a great bridge between the people here and those who are abroad and wanting to, invest in India and to take, our business and the economy forward. So I think that is something which we look forward to. We look forward to help the chartered accountants can provide in terms of all these things. Chartered accountants, in any case, are well trained in these aspects, and with your knowledge, I think you can perhaps do wonders. You are best suited to, look into all these aspects. We bank upon you, Government of India, bank upon you. In fact, Foreign Secretary of India has addressed the Chartered Accountants Fraternity, which are situated abroad. And in that address, he said that we will recognize all the chapters abroad at par with Apex Industry Organization. And I think that was something, a kind of unique recognition which was given to the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. And this is not only an opportunity, it is also a responsibility at the same time. Opportunity in terms of, engaging with the government, engaging with our embassies and missions abroad, and also responsibility, as I said, that you have the responsibility to now pay back to the country in terms of helping it, in terms of getting all the investment, technology, all the necessary things which can revive or which can actually, bring back our economy on track and can really contribute in making our economy a $5 trillion economy in the times to come. So I think that is something very, very important, and chartered accountants all over the world, and particularly in the country where you are right now, I think you have perhaps the largest number of chartered accountants community outside India in a particular country. So you have all the more responsibilities to see how you can help Government of India here and help your own country to prosper and to grow further. So I think with those words, I think you've given me 5 minutes and I've spoken more than that. So I will rest my words here. And I wish you all the very best. You have selected very good topics and very good speakers. Both would give you a lot of insight into how we can turn this pandemic into an opportunity and not only help ourselves but help our countries too. Thank you. Thank you very much, Neeraj, once again for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time and our little gratitude from our side.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
It's a great pleasure to have it.
Thank you, sir. We will send it by email to you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. What a day today is. Today is World Health Day. So first of all, let's take a moment to acknowledge and be grateful for all the frontline heroes that have been working tirelessly to ensure our safety and well-being during these unprecedented times. And we are really privileged to have an eminent speaker today as a keynote address. It's none other than Dr. Mahavir Singhvi. And it gives me great pleasure to formally introduce him. Dr. Mahavir Singhvi is the Director of Medical Oncology Service at Bujil Center Institute in Bujil Medical City, Abu Dhabi, UAE. He is also the President of the Emirates Oncology Society. Dr. Al-Shamsi holds triple specialty board certification in medical oncology from UK, Canada, and the USA. He was an assistant professor and consultant oncologist at the University of Texas and MD and Anderson Cancer Center from 2014 to 2017. He is currently an associate professor of oncology at the University of Georgia. He published more than 60 peer-reviewed and abstracts, including JAMA Oncology, Lancet Oncology, and The Oncologist. It's a privilege to have you, Doctor. Over to you.
Thank you so much for the Institute of Chartered Accountant of India, Abu Dhabi, for the kind introduction. Thank you, Mr. Singhvi, for your kind words. And I would like to welcome everybody. Since I have only 10 minutes, I'm just going to jump into it. And if you allow me, maybe I will take 12 minutes or so. So today's topic is mainly about healthy heart talk, but I'm going to talk a little bit slightly differently about topic that's rarely we speak about, but trust me, is very, very critical to everybody, every one of us, as you're going to see. So first of all, the UAE relationship with India is very long-standing. In UAE, we say if India has Gandhi, we have Sheikh Zayed. And many of you have lived throughout the Sheikh Zayed life. Myself, I was lucky to meet him maybe when I was 7 or 8. And he's one of the greatest men in our country and also in the region. The relationship between India and UAE has been very long-standing. This is a picture dated back to 1975, just to show you how deep these relationships are. The Indian community has contributed significantly to our progress in the UAE. As you know, the UAE is a very small country, and the Indian community has really been, contributing to our development and our progress over the many decades. So I'm going to start with the picture, and some of you will say, like, what's this picture? Well, when we ask anybody, if you can guess what this man may have from a medical point of view, what diseases, you're gonna guess he may have diabetes, he may have hypertension, he may have heart diseases. But I'll tell you, there'll be very few people will think about cancer. And you will say, really? Cancer? Why would they think about cancer in someone who looks really healthy and he looks fine? The reality is that there are 13 types of cancer that are related to obesity. Colon cancer, breast cancer, liver cancer, many cancers. And this is something most people don't really understand, how obesity can affect your risk of cancer. If we look at this picture, I mean, most of you will recognize some of these celebrities, and there is one thing common about all of them. All of them had cancer. And trust me, nobody will ever think himself may be at risk. He will never think that one of his family members will be at risk of cancer. And it's always shocking to have cancer. We're not trying to make people like apprehensive about the risk of cancer, but we want them to be aware of how could cancer affect any one of us without prior risk. Even if you have no family history, only 5% of people, they have family history of cancer. Others, 95%, there is no family history of cancer. And why should we talk about cancer? Because 1 out of 3 on earth will be affected by cancer. Either will have cancer, one of their family members will have cancer. So what's cancer? We're going to go through what cancer. What are the symptoms? Protect ourselves and family. So if I ask you, how long do you think? Most people think it's a disease. In fact, it's a very old disease. Actually, it was documented back in the ancient pharaonic civilization, 2,500, 2000 BC before. And also, if we look at some of the pharaonic era mummies, there are some evidence of cancer for more than 2,000 years. So cancer is a very old disease, but we are still trying to understand it. This is actually a mastectomy where they removed the breast cancer from a lady, and this attributed to a Dutch artist in the 17th century. So cancer, again, it's not a new disease. It's a very old disease. So what's cancer? Basically, you have normal cells that are accelerating, they are dividing the human body. The body is able to control them if they're becoming misbehaving, and I'm trying to make it simple. If the normal cells becoming to start to divide without the ability of the body to control it, then it becomes cancer. Normal cells will spread to other sites like brain, liver, and causes liver failure, brain failure, kidney failure, and then death. There are more than 100 types of cancers. I'm not going to go through them, but there are some common cancers. There are lung cancers and also breast cancer, but also We know that in Asian countries, head and neck cancer is very common because of the smoking and alcohol. So what causes cancer? More than 95% of the cases are not very well established. Other causes are, for example, aging. The more you get older, your risk is becoming higher. Pollution, smoking, also other diseases like COPD and other genetic causes, like if you are inherited some genes from your parents, this is very small risk, but also it can contribute. Occupational, working in mining, and also tobacco smoking, and also secondhand smoking. Again, the risk of cancers also could be from so many other things. For example, if you have chronic inflammation in your bowels, something that some people may have, they will have increased risk of colon cancer. If you're also exposed to some jobs, and also if you are having occupational chemicals, you may have increased risk of lung cancer. And also in UAE, also it's the pipe smoking or medouach. This is very common here in our country. Around 24% of young men actually, they started smoking. We will not see the effect now. We're going to see the effect in 20 or 30 years from now. This is actually a paper we published last year. We addressed the risk factors in UAE and how to tackle them. Smoking and overweight, they are the two major issues that we need to address. Stomach cancer, believe it or not, the bacteria that causes like the stomach inflammation, gastritis, or heartburn, it can cause cancer if it's not treated, and this is very well common as well in our countries. So symptoms of cancer, how do you suspect cancer? The problem with cancer, it may have zero symptoms. You could feel completely fine until the disease becomes very advanced, stage 4, where there's a spread to other organs and you become tired, fatigued. You sleep more than usual, you're trying to eat, but you're losing weight. You may have some itching. You may feel like, depressed as well, because the cancer does not only spread, but also secretes lots of hormones and chemicals, which makes you feel tired and also sweating at times. So this is actually a very famous celebrity. He's a Hollywood star who died from cancer, and he was acting in the Black Panther. He's one of the most famous actors who got cancer young, and he died of colon cancer. He was acting, and he was very active during his stage 4 cancer until it was discovered, and he died because of this cancer. So the message here, cancer doesn't only affect older people, but also can affect people in their 20s and 30s. Actually, a paper we published last year regarding how many young people in the UAE, they have colon cancer, and 40% of patients with colon cancer are under the age of 50, and this is for both nationals and non-nationals in the UAE, and that's why colon cancer is a big threat for our population. So how do you protect yourself and your family from cancer? First of all, there are some things you can control, and there are some things you cannot control. The stuff you cannot control, it's your genes. If you are inheriting some genes from your parents that have some defect, but this is minority. You cannot change it, but you have to have more surveillance to be able to detect this cancer. So if you have family history of cancer, you have to take more precautions than average person. Other thing, if you get older, the older you get, from your 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, the older you get, the higher risk of cancer you may have. So the older you get, you have to keep in mind, I have to check myself for cancer. Other factors that you can control is stop smoking, trying to lose weight, stop drinking alcohol, reduce your alcohol intake, also reduce the sun exposure, excessive exposure. The intermediate or good exposure is healthy and it's important. Poor diet, lots of sugar, lots of fatty food, and also other infection like we mentioned, like the stomach infection, and also diabetes. Believe it or not, diabetes could be a risk factor for some cancers, including pancreatic cancer and also colon cancer. So these things we have to keep in mind. So what can also we do? We have to think about screening for cancer. Most of us, we go to the doctor, please doctor, check me out for diseases. They check your blood and they tell you everything is fine. But unfortunately, we lack structure. It's very well structured for protecting ourselves from cancer. So you have to ask the doctor, can I screen for cancer? And everybody will have specific requirements based on their age, based on their family history. So please make sure you mention to the doctor clearly. And if your doctor is not sure how to screen for cancer, we're more than happy to support you. We're more than happy to give you an advice how to personalize your risk and to do a screening. 60% of colon cancer can be prevented by very simple tests by detecting the colon cancer early. Test can be simple stool test for colon cancer. Once a year, you check your test, and if it's negative, there's no blood, you're fine. Other way is to do a colonoscopy, which can be done once every 5 or 10 years. And if you do it once and you have no polyps, you have no risk, you're fine. You can leave it for the next 10 years. Also, we do have something new that we introduced, and this is not advertisement, but this is something we are very proud of. We brought the first blood test based for colon cancer in the region, and this is very simple and very cheap test, and also convenient. You don't have to go through colonoscopy. You just do the blood test, and then you can find out if you have risk of cancer or not. Breast cancer screening, very important. If you are female and you are over the age of 40, you have to get this. Trust me, there's no excuses. In fact, I saw once a patient today who had early breast cancer because she did the screening and we found it early. She is gonna be cured. She will have nothing to worry about cancer again. But if you don't check yourself when you reach 40 and every year for breast cancer screening, there's a huge risk that you could be affected by this cancer. PSA is very, very important. If you're reaching 50, check your PSA. Very simple blood test, no need for fasting, and very simple and convenient test. If you smoke, my advice, stop smoking. If you cannot stop smoking, at least try to help yourself by doing screening. If you hit 50 and you smoke for the last 15 years, do chest CT scan, making sure there's no lung nodules. Lung nodules could be the starting point for becoming a full-blown cancer. Cervical cancer for ladies starting at the age of 25, very simple internal exam and can be done every 2 years. So how do I start screening? You should have first to be convinced yourself, cancer is a risk, I want to protect myself and my family, call your doctor, speak with him, request the screening for cancer. So I just want to highlight, last year was a very busy year, as everybody mentioned, Mr. Singhvi mentioned as well, that COVID-19 have affected our life. We're very proud as a team here, VPS, we published more than 18 publications about COVID-19 and cancer. In fact, one of them actually was awarded the publication of the year by Harvard University last year, and we were very proud of this achievement with VPS Group. So again, think about cancer, think smart, act and beat cancer early by identifying the signs and symptoms, and don't wait for the signs and symptoms. Just do it tonight, do it tomorrow, pick up the phone, call your doctor, and check yourself. As my colleague mentioned, we are very lucky to live in Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi was named one of the top country, the top city in the world in the COVID-19 safety ranking. We're very proud. We're very happy. In fact, there are so many outlets to get the screening for the COVID-19. Also, to get vaccination. We just need more people to be convinced to get the vaccination where it's accessible. Lastly, thank you so much. We're looking forward to continue our collaboration together. India and UAE has a long-standing relationship, and we continue and we'd love to continue collaborating, working together with each other. Thank you so much, and I hope I didn't take too much of your time.
Thank you, Dr. Umaid. It was perfect. I mean, the timing was perfect and your talk was perfect. And we really thank you for your time. And this is a small token of appreciation from our side.
Thank you, Doctor. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's move to the second session. It's not the first session we are going with because our Dr. Jose Jaco is having some medical emergency. So we are moving to the second session first. So it's indeed my privilege to introduce CATK Raman, who doesn't require much of introduction, but still as a protocol, let me introduce him. CATK Raman is the CEO of Finance House. He joined the organization in 2006 as Chief Operating Officer. He has over 40 years of professional experience across banking, financial services, accounting and auditing, including 35 years in the UAE. Prior to joining Finance House, he held several senior executive positions with MasterCard Internationals, UNB, National Bank of Abu Dhabi, Baker Production Services, ENY, and PwC. CATK Raman, floor is all yours.
I would just like to add here, TK and his wife both are a great and amazing singer. So if you happen to have some time, do listen to them.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Let me just get back to my sharing. I think I lost my PowerPoint. Just getting my screen back. Bear with me. I don't think you can see my screen yet, right?
Not yet, Doctor. No.
Let me just get it back. Can you see it now?
No.
Not yet. Okay.
So,
Yeah, just
yeah.
still no?
No. So, can you stop sharing the screen and do it again?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Just stop and.
It does happen at times, but you can't see it still.
Not yet. Yeah.
Okay, just give me a second.
Have you selected that window?
Yeah. Just one second. So,
yeah.
Okay. Can you see it now?
Yes, we can see.
Okay.
Perfect.
Sorry about that.
What is?
Firstly, let me thank CA Neeraj and his team for giving me the opportunity to present today or share my thoughts on the UAE SMEs, the challenges and opportunities. I'm not going to talk about challenges and opportunities in a traditional economic sense. I think what I'm going to talk about today are the challenges and opportunities of reviving a relationship that seems to have lost mutual trust and respect. Let me come to a different dimension of this. So what are we talking about here? Firstly, when we talk about SMEs, I'm talking about onshore and free zone companies in the UAE who have a top line of between 40 and 200 million dirhams. Now, this could be in trading, in retail, in F&B, manufacturing, whatever industries. And we size the size of this particular segment of about 212,000 entities across the UAE. Now, what I'm going to share with you in the next few slides are my opinion and not necessarily those of my employer. So please take note of that. Now, for a long time, the SMEs in the UAE were the darlings of the banking industry. And somewhere down the line, they became untouchables. Now, if you are an SME today, somehow the relationship between the bank and the SME is such that a bank does not want an SME on either side of their balance sheet, whether from a lending perspective or from a transactional banking liabilities perspective. Something seems to have gone wrong there. If you are a new SME in this country, it's so difficult even to open a transactional account for yourselves. The processes involved through the AML and KYC have become so typically difficult that one wonders what's going wrong with that. If you're one of those fortunate SMEs that have enough liquidity and they got cash, you earn next to nothing on your bank deposits. And if you're the bulk of the unfortunate SMEs that are looking for liquidity support and funding, forget about it. Now, this is today's unfortunate reality that we are living in. Now, I just want to spend a few minutes discussing what went wrong here. I mean, how did we end up in this space? There is no doubt that a lot of businesses, small businesses, have faced closure and failure, and people have skipped the country and all sorts of stuff. We have all been witness to that. Again, this has resulted in a fair bit of credit losses to banking and other financial institutions. I mean, these are facts nobody can deny. But I just want to spend a few minutes analyzing, or at least exploring, what really went wrong. How did we get into this situation of distrust between the banking fraternity or the financial institutions and the SME segment? I think in my assessment, one of the first reasons is the easy money availability. I mean, if you cast your mind to the pre-2014, 2015 era, if you are an SME, you can apply to 5 different banks on the same day and all 5 will give you credit, right? So it was that easy to get credit. Now, that kind of easy availability of credit led to excessive borrowings. And this is, I'm not saying this, but this is what we have all witnessed. Came along with it a certain lack of financial discipline on the part of these SMEs. Now, when I say lack of financial discipline, I really mean people buying, an office premises or an OD account. I mean, there's no way they're going to match their revenue generating capability to pay off that kind of a debt. It's not a blame game. I'm not saying this is only the SME to blame. Equally so, the lenders did not have proper monitoring of the ultimate use of funds. If somebody is asking for a facility and you grant them a facility, you need to control and see where this money is actually being used. And that didn't happen. Another key factor that contributed, in my opinion, to the distrust between the SME sector and the banking fraternity is a lack of tangible plan B. I'm not talking about the pandemic of the last 13, 15 months. I'm talking about the ability of an SME to plan ahead and build some buffers or a plan B, not necessarily in terms of liquidity alone, but also in terms of what do I do if the economy shrinks? What do I do if oil prices collapse by 40%, 50%? So there was really no real planning for a lot of these smaller businesses in terms of how do I attack an economic shock situation. The other item that I would also like to highlight is a very limited innovation. Now, what I mean by this, in the 90s and early 2000s, if you look at the number of SMEs that sprang up in this country particularly, most of them were new shops set up by people who had gained experience in a bigger organization. Doesn't matter which industry, maybe F&B, maybe retail. They learned the tricks of the trade, so to speak, in that industry, left that particular entity or the organization and started something on their own. So these were models that were being aped per se from other existing models. And these were not really path-breaking new models. And another key factor that contributed to the plight of SMEs is what I call as static business models. Now, what do I mean by static business models? I mean, somebody started an SME in the 90s with a very small single location operation. Business was good, they grew. They became 5 branches, 8 branches, maybe diversified to other businesses. But the management model that they adopted was still a very, very controlled one-man show or one-family show. This wasn't really built for an adaptation to a growth or scalable model. That caused, again, some failures amongst SMEs. Coming back to the bank end of things, through the 2000s, I think the compliance functions in banks really took dominance. I mean, banks were previously led by the business functions, but somewhere down the line, the control entirely went into the hands of the compliance function. And so the scrutiny of entry of new players into the market, entry, opening a bank account, offering facilities, and scrutinizing their payments, everything became such a difficult task that entry barriers really became very difficult for SMEs to scale for having banking access. Another related factor was if you are a small SME and you have very small balances in your bank account, even if you don't borrow, the cost of servicing an account at banks became extremely high. And that is one of the reasons why you see that over a period of time, every bank in the country started increasing the size of the minimum balance that an SME requires to maintain in order to get serviced, or you end up with paying horrific charges for not maintaining minimum balances. Now, I'm not saying these are the only factors, but somewhere all these factors slowly building up ended up in a situation where the darlings somehow became untouchables, and this distrust between the SME segment overall and the banking, and I'm not saying only banks, I'm talking about financial institutions like us, which are NBFIs too. We are equally to blame in this. So it led to a situation of distrust, and I'm addressing this at a more deeper level of fixing. How do we reset or revive this relationship into a more trusting and self-mutually respecting environment? This is a concern that I really share. And what I'm going to talk to you next is, as a lender, as a financial services provider, what can I do to bring back or to revive this trust between the two parties? Now, I'll just take this pointer out. Okay, at Finance House, we realized that you need to at least start taking some action to rebuild this trust. It's not about just lending money outright or throwing something at nothing. It is a much deeper divide that needed to be filled, and that was felt as one of the key strategic objectives of Finance House, that we need to rebuild this trust. And what we have done since the beginning of the year is to get into the act of somehow reviving trust with SME segment. And in this connection, what we did is to launch what we call the Al-Raba suite of business solutions aimed at SMEs. Now, let me just explain to you, we have a Raba deposit product, an Al-Raba guarantee product, and Al-Raba WPS. I'll just explain why we went into this and what do we aim to get out of this. I said in the earlier slide that if you are an SME and if you have money, if you're liquid, you don't earn anything on it. So we said, okay, let's fix that segment or that particular concern by trying to put in a product that makes sense to the SMEs. Now, for instance, we offer fixed deposit tenors of between 30 days to 5 years under the Al-Raba deposit. Now, it's not just a plain vanilla deposit, right? Now, if you, for example, place a deposit for 5 years, let's say 1 million dirham for 5 years, and you earn 4% per annum on it, your interest over the 5-year period is 200,000 dirhams. Now, we have gone the extra mile to offer you, saying that, okay, if you're an SME and if you have spare cash, you want to place it for 5 years, we are happy to give you the entire 200,000 dirham advance for 5 years. You can take it on day one. You place a deposit, you can take a 200,000 dirhams back as interest. Now, how's that for starters in terms of rebuilding trust? And not just that. So we're saying you could also, for example, be flexible. We are flexible in case of premature withdrawals. Let's say you place a deposit for 5 years and you have an emergency, you want money without breaking the deposit, you could actually take 25% of up to 25% of your deposit back. There will be no change in the interest rate that has been contracted. There will be no penalties, and you have the flexibility to take your money back. Now, it's not what I want to share is it's not about selling a product. We are trying to rebuild that trust by offering you something that is not the run-of-the-mill product that anybody can offer. So this is an effort coming out of a need to rebuild that trust. That's what I wanted to highlight. Now, similarly, if you talk about the Al-Raba Flexi deposit, this is nothing but a current account or a call account, you may call it, because it's an interest-paying transactional account. Now, compared to what the banks have done, there is no minimum balance. You can open that account with zero balance, and we're not going to charge you any charges for for not maintaining a minimum balance. This is a demonstration of intent to rebuild that trust, right? Of course, the finance companies have a handicap in this country that we cannot issue you a checkbook. So we will be offering you a mobile app through which you can make transfers and receive payments and check your balances and everything. So that's going to be useful. And on top of that, on any balance that you maintain in this call account over 10,000 dirhams, the SME also earns interest at 1% per annum. So in today's interest rate environment, on a call account, I think it's very, very rare, not impossible, to see a return on balances as low as 10,000 or above. So it's not, again, I want to re-emphasize this. This is not an attempt purely to sell a product. This is an attempt to rebuild that trust so that we get back into the SME segment. The SMEs trust us as a financial institution, and we start moving forward together for bigger and better things. If today, if you went to a bank, typically, even if you place 100% cash margin and you want to issue a bid bond or a performance bond or a financial guarantee or whatever, I can tell you it takes anywhere between 4 to 7 business days to get your guarantees issued, despite it being 100% cash margin. And still, you will end up paying a commission to the bank despite it being 100% cash collateralized guarantee, and you literally get nothing on those cash margin balances. So here we said, okay, how do we demonstrate our support to the SME segment again? How do we rebuild the trust? Let's do this. We guarantee issuance of a guarantee, Al-Raba guarantee, in 24 hours. There is no processing fees or commission. And on top of that, you earn a pretty decent interest on your margin balances. So much for building trust and putting your mouth where your money is, right? So similarly, the other product that we are trying to offer to the segment is to ease their pain is the WPS product, which is through a dedicated portal, and the fees are waived for the first 3 months on the WPS customers. Your employees, if they're blue-collar workers, they can get their payday cards through which they can withdraw cash and point of sale usage. And there's a mobile app through which they can check balances, do remittances, etc. Now, I don't want you to look at these as pure sales pitch products. Partly they are, but I think the underlying concept here is to rebuild that trust. And that's what we want to do. And as a sales pitch, I would say if you are interested in these propositions, of course, do reach us at this SMS, and we'll be happy to provide you the service. I will stop here and open to any questions.
I just want to add here a bit that TK was very conscious of not making a marketing pitch here. And but the whole idea when we came up with this thought of having this product being talked about in our seminar or in our event, the reason is that most of our chartered accountant members are working with SMEs, and there are indeed many challenges which are being faced by SMEs these days in terms of banking facilities. And we happened to have a discussion with TK earlier, and he said that there is a fantastic product in Finance House which he can talk of. But we requested him and we asked him that not to make it a marketing product, but rather just to make people aware that these kind of things are available in the market and members can take benefit for their enterprise or for their business, for their place of work. So now I will ask CA Rohit to take it over, please.
Yeah, thank you, CATK, for sharing your thoughts on the challenges and the recovery opportunities for SMEs in UAE, and also putting your thoughts about reviving the trust between the SMEs and the financial institutions. So we have a question from one of our members, CA Naresh Jain. He's asking, what are the roles of government in promoting the SMEs, and what are the measures, the major measures taken by government for the SMEs in the recent past?
I think the government has tried to do a lot for the SME sector. Several initiatives, like in Abu Dhabi, you have the Khalifa Enterprises initiative. In Dubai, we have the Dubai SME initiative. And it's not about what the government can do. The government has been doing a lot of relaxations. For example, one of the key things that the government did was a 3,000 dirham labor guarantee, right? So if you employed 10 employees and you had to keep a cash margin of 30,000 dirhams to issue those 10 guarantees. So in 2018, actually, the government took the step of abolishing these labor guarantees and replaced them with, for example, the insurance product. So for 60 dirhams per annum per employee, you get the same insurance and you release so much of liquidity for the business. Now, this was a very, very key initiative, because the total size of those labor guarantee margins in this country was something in the magnitude of 14 billion dirhams. Now, a huge corporation does not place cash margin to get their guarantees. It's the small businesses that keep that margin to take the guarantee. So this money was a release packet. This is one example. Now, Dubai SME actually funds a crowdfunding project in DIFC. They have given more than 500 million dirhams of core money to fund SMEs who want to draw on the core crowdfunding opportunity. In Abu Dhabi, a lot of initiatives have been taken, but somehow they are more focused on UAE national-owned enterprises as opposed to expat-managed or controlled entities. But having said that, these are some of the initiatives that the government has already taken to support SMEs in the country. It's not only about direct funding support. It is also about creating environment, reducing fees. I mean, in the last 2 years, how many instances have we seen of governments making an attempt to actively slashing fees? So I would say these are some of the initiatives the government has taken so far.
Okay, thank you so much. Another question is, the funding is major challenge for the new businesses especially, and usually banks are very reluctant to provide the funding to the new businesses as the risk of failure is comparatively high. So what's your thoughts or opinion, like what can be done, or what can be a win-win solution or initiative should be taken by government or financial houses to provide the support to the new businesses?
I would re-emphasize the start which I did. Why is a new entity not able to secure funds? It goes back to the distrust that I so much harped on. In a trusting environment, where there is mutual respect and trust, it should be a lot easier for a startup or a new business to secure funding. The second reason is, if you look at the UAE today, there is no one bank that can truly be called an SME bank. There isn't. In every major bank, there is a division which is an SME division, but there is no small scale industries banks or similar in this country. Perhaps this is an idea that we have mooted to the central bank and to the other authorities in several discussions, that why don't you encourage setup of a special institution to support SMEs. So far, it hasn't taken shape, but I believe there is discussions currently going on to set up a specialized institution to serve the SMEs, which could help.
Thank you, CATK, for your time and sharing your thoughts with our members. I'll request our committee member Safiq to play a video. Thank you. Safiq, can you please also present a token of appreciation in form of certificate? And thank you to CA TK Raman.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you for your time.
Now I'll hand over the proceeding to CA Anu for the next session. Over to you, Anu.
Thank you, Rohit. Good evening, members and guests. Welcome you all to the second session of the day, Heart Talks, Enabling Heart-Mind Harmony. We are really privileged to have Padma Shri Dr. Jose Chaco Periyapuram among us for this session. Dr. Jose is a highly renowned cardiac surgeon with 30 plus years of experience and one of the few surgeons in the world to have completed FRCS degree in cardiac surgery from 3 prestigious surgical colleges: Royal College of Surgeons of Ireland, Royal College of Surgeons of Glasgow and Edinburgh, University Hospital of Wales, and Manchester Royal Infirmary. He was the first to perform a successful heart retransplant surgery in India in 2014. He has independently performed more than 10,000 heart surgeries so far. He currently holds the position of consultant and head of Department of Cardiothoracic Surgery at Lisi Heart Institute, Cochin, and is a joint secretary of Heart Failure Society of India. Dr. Jose was awarded Padma Shri by the Government of India in the year 2011. He is also the recipient of Indira Gandhi Award and Mother Teresa Award. He is the founder and chairman of Heart Care Foundation, which helps poor patients to have heart surgeries done by assisting them financially. The Abu Dhabi chapter and the committee members have pledged support to this noble initiative, and we welcome all the members to contribute to this noble cause. Details will be shared soon on WhatsApp. Team members, please join me in welcoming Dr. Jose Chaco Periyapuram to the session. Over to you, Doctor.
Anu, thank you very much for the wonderful introduction. And I'm sorry that I had to kind of run from the hospital to reach home to get an efficient Wi-Fi. I was getting cut off in between, and I was not sure whether I'll be able to reach home in time through the traffic of Cochin City, which people from Kerala know quite well. And I had been partly listening to the speeches of Dr. Humaid Al-Shamsi as well as TK Raman, and it's very interesting. And I'm very happy to understand that a lot of people like Neeraj and Anu, Rohit, everybody is taking a big lead in organizing a get-together of the Chartered Accountants Forum of the UAE. I don't think there is much I can do to help you with your profession, but on and off, we have people coming from the Middle East, not on and off, quite often, being airlifted with heart problems, and especially from the southern part of India. And most of them actually has been exposed to very high risk jobs and volatile lifestyle and uncertainty, as well as missing home. And probably that could be the reason why there is a higher incidence of coronary artery disease in Indians staying abroad. So when Anu asked me to talk about the heart disease, I thought I will just give a small introduction about heart disease, what it is, and the risk factors producing the heart disease, and then we'll say a few incidences in our professional life, and probably we'll have some time to discuss if there is any doubts. Now, as we know, the heart is a pumping organ of the body, and the only function of the heart in our body is pumping. It ejects the blood at least 70 times a minute, and it does throughout our life without complaining until it is overburdened. It's a beautiful organ which, if we take care of it, will give back its reward by way of keeping us alive and healthy. And this is a picture of the heart. We can see it's a muscular organ, and what you see in red color are the blood vessels bringing blood to the heart, and what we see in the blue color is the blood vessels which is taking blood back from the heart to the lungs for purification. And these blood vessels are called coronary arteries, these red blood vessels. Coronary means something to do with the heart, and when there is illness or block in the coronary arteries. We call it coronary artery disease. And it is estimated that half of the deaths all over the world is related to coronary artery disease as well as cerebrovascular disease. And half of this death happen unexpectedly and suddenly, as some of you would have heard about the story of people who has sustained heart disease. And when it comes to the Asian subcontinent, what is more alarming is that the heart disease happen 5 to 10 years earlier than the Western population. And we find a lot of people below the age of 40 years sustaining heart disease, needing angioplasty as well as bypass surgery. The main risk factor which produce heart disease, of course, are modifiable, and it is related to our diet intake. You can see this is an ideal food pyramid where you have got the least sweets, poultry, eggs, and meat and kind of things at the top, and more high fiber diet with vegetables at the bottom. But in most of the families now, we can see the pyramid is inverted. And a lot of times, especially our kids, indulge on the top layer of the pyramid much more than the bottom layer, leading to unhealthy physiology. And other problem is cholesterol. We know cholesterol is linked with the food intake. The total cholesterol, when we say, it is a combination, is an addition of HDL, LDL, and VLDL. VLDL is very low density lipoprotein, LDL is low density lipoprotein, and HDL is a high density lipoprotein. And together we get a total cholesterol value. HDL is good cholesterol, while VLDL is an ugly cholesterol. So the aim of our diet as well as our lifestyle is actually to reduce the VLDL to as low as possible. Diabetes is one of the main reasons for coronary artery disease in Asian population, which at least about 40% of population above the age of 40 years suffer. Family history is only non-modifiable risk factor which produces heart disease. Family history means that if any of our first or second line blood relatives had documented heart disease before the age of 50 years, then we say that this guy has got family disease, and they have got about 10% more chance of getting heart disease compared to the common population without a risk factor. Obesity definitely can produce high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, and multiple problems. Obesity means 20% of the recommended body weight is called obesity, but a lot of people are overweight but not obese. But I think one should watch the weight and keep it within the recommended weight to reduce the risk of heart disease. Hypertension or high blood pressure is one of the other reasons which can produce heart disease. We call uncontrolled hypertension is a ticking time bomb. It can produce heart disease. It can produce hypertensive kidney problem. It can produce stroke by way of bleeding to the brain, as well as it can produce hypertensive retinopathy and loss of vision. So uncontrolled hypertension is a disaster. Now, exercise, physical inactivity is one of the reasons why a lot of people in our subcontinent develop heart disease. Most of the Indian population indulge into a sedentary lifestyle with less exercise. And previously, we used to tell physical inactivity, exercise will reduce the incidence of heart disease. But now we say physical inactivity is a risk factor producing heart disease. Not doing exercises is equal to having diabetes, or is equal to having hypertension or having high cholesterol. So physical inactivity is a positive risk factor. So it's mandatory that everybody should have a percentage of exercise in their routine life. Smoking, of course, is inviting a lot of problems. Heart disease and cancer, as well as many other diseases, is produced by smoking. And that is something which I think is quite common especially in the Middle East and society, which I think is one of the reasons why there is high incidence of heart disease in that part of the world. Now, what happens to coronary arteries? This is a coronary artery, is cross-section, and this is the lumen through which blood is flowing, and you can see something bulging into the inner cavity of the blood vessel, which is called atherosclerotic plaque. And this plaque is made up of cholesterol and calcium in varying proportions. And over a period of time, this will grow inwards, producing varying degrees of obstruction to the blood flow. And when it becomes totally occluded or totally narrowed, an individual can get a heart attack. But if the percentage of the narrowing is less, they will have varying degrees of symptoms, which I will come to later. Now, I think this is a small video which is not playing. But the main symptoms, doctor, how do I know whether I have got heart disease? The main symptom is chest pain. We call it angina. The angina is classically, if you take your right hand and put it on your chest on the left side, that is where the heart is located. And if you have got pain there or a dullness or a heaviness, you have to suspect that it is related to the heart. Especially if when you're walking, when you exercise, if you get that discomfort, and when you take a break or take a rest, if that pain disappear, it's almost sure that it would be related to the heart disease. There again, we have got exceptions because people with diabetes probably does not need to feel the pain or severity of the pain, and they can have silent heart disease, and even they may not recognize that they had already sustained a heart attack, because diabetic patients can have, they are notorious for developing a silent heart disease. Breathlessness on exertion, feeling unusually tired, unexplained sweating. Some people come and say, doctor, I have put the air conditioning to the maximum and still I was sweating in my room. That is not a good sign. I think those kind of situations need to be investigated. So these symptoms are all something which should point the finger towards a possible heart disease, but these symptoms can happen due to multitude of problems also. Now, the heart attack and the heart disease can present with myocardial infarction, which is it's called a heart attack. It can be silent, it can be just chest pain, and sometimes people can have a cardiac arrest and a sudden death related to heart attack with no previous warning. So there is a multitude of symptoms related to the heart problem. If you look at this picture, this is a man. If you see a man like this, that means that he is sustaining a heart attack. He's coming from the restaurant, having a heavy meal, and his right hand is on the left chest. And you can see, if you look at this diagram, this is a red colored area, which is the left side of the chest, and going to the inner side of the left arm, left upper arm. This is a classical chest pain radiating to the inner side of the left upper arm is very classical of a heart attack or a heart disease. You can see this man is in agony. Now, heart attack is to be differentiated from heart disease. Not everybody with heart disease get a heart attack. Cardiac arrest is very different. Cardiac arrest means the stoppage of the heart. So not every heart attack does not need to produce cardiac arrest, and not every cardiac arrest may not necessarily need to be related to a heart attack also. Anyway, if there is symptoms which I have explained earlier, if any one of us or any one of our friends experience such an issue, they should go for an immediate medical attention with the standard checkup to make sure that they don't have heart disease. Now, the blood test which we normally do are, as we all know, are one of these enzymes. We call it troponin. The patients come and say, the doctor, when he did the ECG, it was normal. But when he did a blood test, he said that better to come in and stay in the hospital for 24 hours. That test is an enzyme which is released by the heart muscles at the time of reduction in blood supply. When the heart muscle is damaged, it releases this troponin into the bloodstream, which will be picked up by this dipstick test, which will give an early indication of a heart attack. Other tests which we do are echocardiogram, which is the scanning of the heart. a treadmill test or a exercise tolerance test by running on the treadmill and recording the ECG real time, a thallium scan, and ultimately a gold standard test for diagnosing the heart disease is what we call a coronary angiogram. This is a treadmill test. This is a coronary angiogram. Anyway, when a doctor diagnoses somebody has got a heart disease, the first line of treatment is lifestyle modification. And that involves diet regulation. As I said earlier, we have to stick on to the food pyramid, reduction of weight, control of diabetes if somebody has, control of hypertension. If we are a smoker, stop smoking and start regular exercise on a graded manner as suggested by your physician. Medical treatment include multiple medicines, which I am not going to. And the treatment for patients who does not respond to medical treatment, an angiogram shows single or double block is an angioplasty. And if there is multiple blocks, we have got 3 blood vessels on the heart. If all the blood vessels has got blocks and not responding to medical treatment and lifestyle modification, the doctors advise them to go for a bypass surgery. Bypass surgery is either done by the help of heart-lung machine by stopping the heart, or recently on a beating heart using some stabilizers. This is a heart-lung machine which we use to stop the heart, and this pump, this is a roller pump which does the function of the heart, and this is an oxygenator which does the function of the lung. So both the heart and the lung can be stopped once the patient is connected to the heart-lung machine. And actually, this is a fantastic machine. As you know, when we do heart transplantation, we connect the patient to the recipient of the heart to this machine, and we can take the heart out and take it away and put somebody else's heart there. And until then, the life will be sustained by this machine. And so is the case with the lungs. We can take both lungs out when the patient is on heart-lung machine and put new donor lungs into the human body. Also, using this machine, we can cool the patient down, the body temperature down to 20 or 18 degrees centigrade, and we can work on a still heart with no blood. We can drain the entire blood from the human body into this machine, and the body lies on the operating table with no blood circulation, no heart function, no lungs, and we can do multiple types of difficult operations and then pump the blood back to the human body, rewarm the body, and bring it back to 37 degrees centigrade, and patient walks home at the end of a week. Now, I think I had some videos which I'm not going to play for it. Anyway, this is sometimes we have to do a procedure called endartrectomy. When we open the blood vessel, we don't see a lumen. I showed you the initial picture of a cross section of the blood vessel. When it is completely filled with cholesterol and calcium, this is what it looks like. We open the blood vessel and pull it out. This is a main vessel with a branch. This is all a deposit of cholesterol and calcium inside the blood vessel. You know, we pull it out like a rust being pulled out from a pipe which is fully blocked. Anyway, in essence, the heart is a tireless, powerful muscle. And it said that the energy which the heart produces to pump a minute is as much as what it is needed to lift a small car from the ground by about 6 inches. So our heart is one of the most powerful organs in the world. And it is very important that we should take care of the heart and look after it so that we don't have a heart problem in future. Now, thank you very much for that, for listening to me. But I think I have got some more things to tell. How do I go back? Okay. I think I was just thinking today when Anu told me to relate your heart to your mind. I think from ancient times itself, the heart is supposed to be the seat of emotions, thought processes, sadness, happiness, everything we correlate to the heart. And in Malayalam and in every languages all over the world, there is a lot of a lot of situations where we relate our emotions and our feelings to the heart. And definitely individuals with mental stress. Recently, I was talking to my cardiologist, and he said a patient, an elderly lady of about 40 years of age, 40 or 50, not elderly, 40 years, 45 years of age, was brought to the casualty with a heart attack, the so-called heart attack. And when the ECG was taken, the ECG was normal, and but her heart pumping was extremely poor. And she was brought to the coronary care unit, and the doctor took a history, and the son, a young son, was there with her. And the son was not good with his academics, and the mother always used to yell at him and shout at him for not doing well in his classes. And there was an ongoing rift between the son and the mother regarding the academics, and the son had a lot of different vision about his studies and everything, but my mother could not digest it down. And one day, after a huge argument, she suddenly had some discomfort, and she became she fainted and fell down, and was brought to the casualty. And all the doctors thought that she has got multiple blocks in the heart, and they did an angiogram to find the angiogram was absolutely normal. The coronary arteries, as we saw earlier, was absolutely normal. But the echo showed the pumping function of her heart was only about 20%. The normal pumping function of the heart is about 70%, which means that before every heartbeat, the heart gets filled with about 100 ml of blood. And with every heartbeat, out of that 100 ml, 70 ml has to be pumped. That is called the ejection. And her ejection was only 20%, which is almost incompatible with a normal life. And later, the cardiologist found that she has got what we call a stress cardiomyopathy. You would have heard about cardiomyopathy. Cardio means heart, myo means muscle, pati means disease. So she had something to do with some major problem with the heart muscles. The heart is like an elastic, when the blood fills, the heart expands and to contain the blood. And at the end, when the elastic stretches and it recoils, like an elastic recoils, the heart recoils, and in that process, it ejects the blood from the heart to outside. So the elasticity is lost. You can imagine a piece of elastic without elasticity. The heart is expanded, but it is unable to recoil. So she had only 20% of recoiling capacity. And then we had a diagnosis, we call it Takasubu cardiomyopathy or stress cardiomyopathy. And that can happen in people with stress, both physical as well as mental stress. I'm not talking about the day-to-day stress of our work or our physical activity. I'm talking about an extreme situation of stress. So I think it is very important. People say, can stress produce cardiac disease? Stress is not a direct risk factor. When I showed you the risk factors of heart disease, I did not put stress into that. I put diabetes, hypertension, smoking, physical inactivity, cholesterol, food habits, and family history and everything. But stress is not a direct risk factor producing heart disease. But when we are really stressed, there is a lot of hormonal changes happening in our body. Like most example is a release of cortisol, which is a hormone which will prepare the human body to fight against the stress, both physical as well as mental. Suddenly, when you walk, a car comes against you or a dog comes barking against you, we have got a sudden response, and that is being triggered by certain hormones released into our system, and the major one is cortisol. And this cortisol excess, when it's released, it can produce the blood pressure to shoot up. It can produce the cholesterol to shoot up. It can produce the sugar to shoot up. The pressure can shoot up immediately. If you are exposed to high stress over a period of days or weeks or months, you can become a diabetic. Your diabetes become uncontrolled. Your pressure become uncontrolled, and thereby we can have a heart disease in turn. So stress is a secondary risk factor leading to primary risk factors which directly produce heart disease. So it's very important that whatever may happen in our professional life or in our personal life, in our family life, with our kids or our parents, it's very important that we have to take it light without too much of a stress affecting us. Of course, we are all human beings. We all get exposed to stress, but it should not be something which would guide your day-to-day life. And that can probably lead to heart disease as well. Now, Heart Care Foundation is an organization which was started in 2008. I was a founder. I'm the founder, chairman of the Heart Care Foundation. And we had a lot of activities regarding the Heart Care Foundation, except during the COVID period of time. It is supposed to help poor heart patients to have undergo heart surgeries, rehabilitation of patients who had heart disease, awareness program, organ donation, assist heart care research, data collection, etc. This is a function of inauguration in 2005, at that time by our governor, and being attended by a famous cardiac surgeon, Dr. K.M. Cherian, and who received the first Lifetime Achievement Award from the Heart Care Foundation. Now, when I visited Kuwait about in 2006, one of my close friends came to me and asked me, "Doctor, I can help you with some money. Can you help 10 poor patients in Kerala to undergo heart surgeries?" So there we started a major program called 1,000 Hearts, 1,000 Lives, and 1,000 Families. That was started in 2008, and that was inaugurated by Justice Korean Joseph. And this is Dr. P.K.R. Vaidya at that time, who received the Lifetime Achievement Award. The last 10 years, between 2008 and 2018, the Heart Care Foundation could help 1,000 patients to undergo cardiac surgeries in various governmental medical colleges. Not to do with the hospital where I work. It is not to do with any private hospital. It is to do with the government hospital. For that program, I myself went to Kottayam Medical College, where I studied and trained the doctors to do cardiac surgery, and then gave them financial assistance to do cardiac surgery over a period of 10 years. And that project was closed in 2018. And still, there are a lot of applications and inquiries for financial assistance. So our program helping poor patients, especially children, is still being continued, and that's being helped by people who are having a lot of philanthropic activities. We have got a lot of brand ambassadors like Suresh Gobi and Srishant, or brand ambassadors. And this is one of the pictures where Srishant is distributing armbands to students of Heart Care Foundation, where the children go home, and when the parents ask, "What is this, son?" they will talk about heart disease, what all risk factors are there, and thereby through the children to the families, through the children to the parents, make them aware of the heart disease, and modify their lifestyle so that the heart disease can be largely prevented. These are a lot of patients who underwent cardiac surgery, and a lot of donations has been given. This Rajagiri Hospital, Rajagiri School gave us about 6 lakhs rupees in 2008. That program was attended by Kunjako Boban, and Father Austin, the manager, is handing over the check to me in 2008. And a lot of other activities. This is a program in Vidyodaya School, also being attended by one of our brand ambassadors, Kunjako Boban. And we had been honoring various doctors and social workers. Dr. George Jacob, MV Piley, no more with us. Muhammad Hanish, the collector at that time, is awarding him with a Lifetime Achievement Award. Dr. Mohan Das, the director of Sri Chitra Institute of Medical Sciences, Dr. Echocardiogram. Anyway, we have got projects like Save a Life, Save a Lifetime, with the CPR campaigns, free medical checkup, painting competition for children, educating them about heart disease, cooking classes for ladies, exhibitions, healthy cooking, and a lot of activities are being done by the Heart Care Foundation. And we also have organ donation program, and a lot of people have received donor card on behalf of the Heart Care Foundation. Now, we have got a publication called Caring Hearts in English, which is published once in 3 months, which contain a lot of articles and information about heart disease. And we invite people to subscribe to the magazine, which is going to be a great use to the education about heart disease. Anyway, that is all about Heart Care Foundation, and also a few words about organ donation in India. You know that we had been spearheading a lot of heart transplantation the last couple of years. In our own department, we have done about 26 heart transplantation so far, and we have done the first heart retransplantation, as Mr. Anu Thomas has said, in India about 8 years ago, and this patient is still doing normally. And most of the patients after heart transplantation need a lot of monetary help for their medications and rehabilitation. And I think we all should know about organ donation and come forward with organ donor cards, so that we can save lives of so many people whom otherwise we would have lost. Even 2 weeks ago, we airlifted a heart from Trivandrum, and today the patient who received the heart, Surya Narayan, 18-year-old boy, is discharged home. So it's very important to motivate people about organ donation, either live organ donation or organ donation after death. So these are the few things which I wanted to share with you all. I don't know whether I exceeded my time, or I don't know whether I delivered a topic which is what you expected, but I could do only what I know about my area. And I thank you so much, a wonderful team. I had been listening to your conversation and speeches earlier. It's really educative, and I think it's nice to see far away from home you are working hard, and you are organizing, you meet and you share your personal as well as business aspects. And I am so privileged to be invited to address such a gathering, and I consider myself as an honor to be with you tonight. Thank you very much. God bless you all.
Yes, Neeraj.
Yes. Dr. Saab, thank you so much. I would just request you if you can cover a bit on the perception and fear that most of the people have for organ donation. I mean, we realize when we talk to anyone, everyone has got some perception that by donating organ, like for example, kidney, for example, so they have some perception, and even after death, they say that, yeah, why we should play around with the body. So can you just elaborate on that and share some guidance to our members that how it is so important and why it is so important that we should consider that?
Yes, Neeraj, it's a very relevant point, which I try to clarify in some public meetings. One thing we should understand, there are two types of organ donations. One is a live organ donation, and one other is what we call cadaveric organ donation. We can donate certain organs when we are alive, and we can lead a normal life. And that's a classical example is the kidney donation. We have got 2 kidneys, and we don't really need both kidneys unless other kidney will develop any problems in future. But if you are not a diabetic, if you are not having high blood pressure, and if you don't suffer from any systemic illness, you need only 1 kidney. Actually, we need only half of 1 kidney. So that can be donated to a person who is on dialysis and unable to lead a normal life. So we have to get checked up by a doctor to make sure that we don't have any systemic illnesses, and we can register our name with an organization called Mrida Sanjeevani in Kerala. If it is in Tamil Nadu, it is called TNOS, Tamil Nadu Organ Sharing Program. In Andhra Pradesh, it is called Jeevan Dan. Likewise, every state has got their own organ donation and sharing programs. So you can carry a donor card and you can give it to the organ sharing program people, and they will call you when a recipient is in need of an organ. And definitely the blood group has to match. You cannot give a B positive kidney, a person's kidney, to an A positive recipient. You know that AB positive is a universal donor. AB positive person can give his organ to anybody, any blood group, and O positive person can receive anybody's organ. So they are universal recipient. But then a lot of times the apprehension is because of the organ trade. You know, people sell kidney for money, in a place like India or in other less developed places where people starve to death, and they donate kidney, and the people take advantage of it. So the only way to prevent a live organ donation and organ trade is to enhance the cadaveric organ donation. We know a lot of people die, not that we want them to die, but road traffic accident, brainstem death, they go on to ventilator, and the body is being cremated or burned away or whatever it is. And we have got heart, we can give lungs, we can give liver, we can give intestines, we can give hands, kidneys, eyes, lot of organs we can give. Then there is lot of belief, religious belief. Some religions are not encouraging organ donation. Some religions believe that their body has to go intact to the heaven or wherever for a rebirth in a good shape. But a lot of religions don't give too much importance to physical thing. And even in Christianity, we believe that the soul only is being going to heaven or hell or wherever we are going to go. So the body, we don't need it. The God doesn't want your body in heaven. He wants only your soul. The only problem, confusion now, especially in a place like Kerala, is that there are, at least Keralites would have watched a movie called Joseph, which has given a very wrong impression about the doctors making people brain dead to take the organs, which is very wrong information through the social media. So that apprehension has to be taken away from the common people by the strong involvement of the governmental bodies, because the government has to coordinate these things, this organ donation and organ distribution. Like when I said 2 weeks ago, we did a heart transplantation. This young boy was on ventilator. He was going to die. Suddenly a donor came in Trivandrum, and the hospital informed the organ sharing program, and they looked at all the recipients, and they found our recipient is most matching, and they allocated the organ to us. We had nothing to do with the brainstem death. So the allocation has to be done by the government body. So these are the two things which are to prevent organ trade. Second, the government has to take over the organ procurement and sharing and distribution so that it will be done very transparently.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Doctor. And we salute you for all the efforts that you've been putting into. We just have 2 or 3 more questions and we'll close it after that. So the first question is from Mr. Golte Mohammad Iqbal. And he's asking, most of the people get chest pain. In many cases, it is not heart related. How to differentiate to avoid the rush to emergency?
I think I briefly touched upon that point in my talk, but I think it's a very relevant thing everybody need to know, because the chest pain can be related to multiple problems. It can be a muscle pain. It can be what we call musculoskeletal pain, myalgia, or what we call it, or it can be even some inflammation, what we call costochondritis, the inflammation of different joints on the chest wall. So it is important that an individual should at least know some hint that whether this pain is related to the heart. If you take the right hand and put it on the left side of the chest like this, and if that pain is in that particular area, we have to suspect it is to do with the heart. One thing. Second thing, if it happens when you exercise, like you are doing a treadmill or you're walking, the pain comes and you stop for a second or for a minute and the pain goes away, and then you continue walking and the pain comes back again, that is almost sure that it is related to the heart. It is not related to the movement of the hand, it is related to the physical activity. The heart is not able to get enough blood during that extra demand of walking, especially when you climb up stairs or when you rush to get to a car, or when you rush to cross the road or something, you feel a pain. If you have severe pain in that area with the sweating, definitely it is to do with the heart. But again, we have to gauge ourselves. What is my risk factor to develop heart disease? Am I a diabetic? Do I have high blood pressure? Do I have family history of heart disease? Do I smoke? Am I overweight? Then small pains, these kind of things, even if it is not classical, it's better that one get checked up, because we have got a lot of risk factors which can lead to heart disease. But any pain on the chest related to exertion with a mild sweating or a fatigue, definitely a heart disease is in the list, #1 list of priority, which need to be looked into and investigated.
Thank you, doctor. And we have one more question. How do we know whether a heart is healthy? Like, I mean, other than doing normal checkups and tests, what are the other ways to know without being any discomfort experienced? It's from one of our panelists, Priyanka.
Okay, Priyanka, right. I think, symptoms, as we said, without doing test, you don't want to go to hospital to know you got heart disease, but you have got doubt that you've got heart disease, then you have to look at the symptoms. Definitely, almost everybody do some kind of a physical exercise every day, I suppose, like walking 20 minutes or 30 minutes every day. Now, I don't know about what COVID has done to all of us, but some kind of exercise when you do it. Until yesterday, I was fine. I could walk, but today I'm not able to reach my usual distance. You feel it today, you have to stop short of your target, come back home, and the next day when you go walking again, you feel the same thing. That means that there is something wrong. And that is something which should arouse a suspicion in your mind that, my heart doing well? Definitely, if you have got pain and some kind of a discomfort on the chest while you walk, yes, you have to suspect. Then only way to rule out is to go to a hospital, get an ECG. But most of the time, ECG will be normal, because ECG changes may not be present in our test unless it is being taken at the time of the pain. Or if you had a heart attack in the past, definitely ECG will show. But if I had pain yesterday and today I go and take an ECG, 90% of time it is going to be normal. So don't come back home saying that my ECG is normal. If you got strong suspicion, ask the doctor to do a fingertip test. We call it troponin test, like we do the glucose test. And if the troponin test is negative, then you can be 90% sure that it is not a heart related thing. But again, if the doctor feels that you are at high risk, he will advise you to stay in the hospital for observation for 24 hours and recheck the ECG and recheck the blood test after 24 hours before he release you home. So I think don't hesitate to go to a hospital if you got a suspicion of heart problem, because postponing means that you are losing that golden hours. The first 4 hours after a heart attack is the most crucial period of time. And if you need to have something done, earlier the better. People postpone it for a day or two thinking it is a gas problem. See, a lot of times the gas problem is misguiding people. The intestine has got the same type of muscle as the heart muscle. It's called smooth muscles. A piece of intestine you take from a goat or something and pull it, it goes, it stretches a lot, and you leave it slowly, it will come back. This is called an elastic muscle. The heart is a stronger elastic muscle. It stretches when the blood fills. So it is called smooth muscles. So because of the intestine and the heart muscles are much the same character, the pain of the stomach may mimic the heart disease and other way around. So about 30% of patients a gastroenterologist treating for acidity are heart patients, and about 30% of patients who the cardiologists treat as heart problem are gastro patients also. There is an overlap between these symptoms. So don't kind of ignore if you got repeated acidity. When I walk, I burp, my gas builds up and I get a burning pain in the chest. So I took some Gelusil or I took some cold milk and I got better. So it's always better to go and check it up to make sure that the heart is, because that is where the life is situated as far as the cardiac surgeons are concerned.
Thank you, Dr.
Doctor.
Thank you.
We just close it with one last question. It's often said that the more you laugh, the more healthy your heart is. Is there any correlation between laughing and healthy heart?
Absolutely, absolutely. And laughing actually unwind you, isn't it? People who can laugh loud. I mean, I'm not disturbing other people, but laugh for small things. They live longer. And there's a lot of studies about mental tranquility, enjoying what is around you. Recent studies say that washing plates in the kitchen can increase your longevity. I think all ladies liked it. They were motivating the men to wash. Ironing can increase your longevity, and household work. That may be the reason why women live much longer than men. And there's a huge study from Delhi that the yoga and heart disease. I'm not quite sure scientifically whether it's proved. Doing yoga leads to less incidence of heart disease, especially people with the high risk. So definitely let us laugh, let us smile, and let us enjoy people's joke and everything to have a healthy life.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for sharing your knowledge and experience. And over to you, John, for the thanks and the certificate of appreciation.
Unmute yourself, John.
Thank you, Ciano. The best and the most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or even touched. They must be felt with the heart. Thank you, Padma Shri Dr. Jose Chacko, from the bottom of my heart for taking your valuable time for addressing our members and guests. Your speech was heart-touching and very informative. As a token of appreciation, we would like to present you a certificate. Thank you once again for attending our meeting. Much appreciated.
Thank you very much.
I would like to continue with my vote of thanks. I take this opportunity to thank CA Mahavir Singhvi, IFS Joint Secretary, Ministry of External Affairs, for being our chief guest. I would like to thank Dr. Humaid Al-Shamsi, Director at Bojil Cancer Institute and VPS Oncology, for addressing the members on cancer prevention. I also take this opportunity to thank CA Raman, Chief Executive Officer, Finance House, for addressing our members on SME challenges and recovery opportunities. The topic was very interesting and the need of the hour. Thank you, CA Raman. I also thank ICA Abu Dhabi committee members for the support for making this event successful. I place on record our sincere thanks to all our sponsors. Before we conclude, we have exciting prizes for engaging attendees. Today we have two winners. I would like to announce the name of the winner. One is CA Naresh Jain, our past chairman of Abu Dhabi chapter. Congratulations, CA Naresh. And the second prize, it's both are equal. The second, the prize goes to CA Gotley Mohammed. Congratulations. And I wish to express my gratitude to all participants. I hope it was a great evening for all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr.
Thank
Jose.
you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, members. Good night and good day.